Hey, this is part 2 of Let's Play Abandonware Cyborg. To recap the story so far, we've awoken in a strange forest with no memories. With the help of our cyborg half, we have managed to explore this world and discover that nothing is as it seems. We've escaped from the holographic environment and are about to plunge into a dark tunnel. Last episode I managed to leave behind the droid, so I've gone back to collect it. It sits on your shoulder as you travel around, and it offers rather annoying and unhelpful remarks about your situation. This game features a save and restore system for those who are fortunate enough to own a disk drive in 1982. It makes it a lot less frustrating to play without having to return to the beginning every wrong turn. So here we are back at the detox station, and we'll take it from here. We're standing in mid-air, suspended at the top of a circular tube or shaft that descends into darkness. Well, let's take the plunge. We're suspended in mid-air about 25 meters beneath the top of the shaft. The shaft descends into darkness, but there is a small hatch in the south wall of the shaft. That's where we want to go. Creaks open like a rusty gate, not very well maintained. We're in a long, narrow ventilation duct, of course, that leads to the south. The air here smells fresh, full of life. An opening to the north leads out to a vertical zero-gravity shaft. The droid says, "This place scares me." If so many situations like this could have been prevented if people didn't use human-sized ventilation ducts. We're in the middle of an X-junction of ventilation ducts. The droid says, "Which way did we go?" Very witty. We've gone as far as we can go in the ducts. The south end of the duct narrows down to a slit too small for us to fit through. The droid says, "End of the line." There is a repair patch here, and that's vital to the story, so we need to take that with us. And head back to where we were. Keep on going down the tunnel. We're at a resting spot in the vertical shaft, standing on a small platform. The shaft continues its descent into the darkness below. There's an opening in the northwest side of the shaft. This is sort of a main crossroads. If I was still drawing the map, this would be sort of the center of this level. We're in a dimly lit hallway junction. A coloured stripe runs down the center of each floor. The northwest stripe is red, the north one is yellow, the northeast one is green, and the south one is blue. And that color coding allows you to sort of keep track of your surroundings. Whatever screen you're on, essentially, you can do an area scan and it will give you a lit path, guide you on your way. Pretty clever way of doing it. Okay. We'll climb up these rungs. We're standing in the doorway, in the north end of a huge domed room. The center of the dome seems to be made from some black translucent plastic, like what the cube that we picked up earlier was made of. Overhead we see stars through a clearing in the circular dome. A doorway lies to the north, while other exits are to the east and west. The droid says, "The final frontier. These are the voyages, etc." We've entered a small transparent shell that bubbles out into space. The shell is made of thick, unbreakable plastic and shows us a magnificent scene. A huge planet, definitely not Earth, slowly rotating on its axis. So we are in fact in space at present. We're in the south end of the domed room before a small opening in the wall. The opening is small, too small for us to squeeze through. Scanning the opening reveals a small white room with rows of hooks on the walls. Now this is the one spot where the droid comes in very useful. We can pop the droid off our shoulder, and he runs through the slot sort of like a bomb tube and comes back with a spacesuit for us. And now you got to do a little bit of inventory management here because you've got limited slots that you can hold. So you've got to do a bit of shuffling around, which you need to do. A bit of manufactured difficulty in the game, keeping track of where you left all the stuff that you need to pick up later. So let me just follow my steps that I've got here. Make sure I've dropped everything. There we go, got everything we need. So we need to get the spacesuit. And we're ready to go to space. We've entered an airlock. A red button on the wall has the following inscribed on it. Press button to cycle airlock. We can see the darkness of space through the 5-inch thick glass. Can't have a big red button without pressing it. A whine penetrates the airlock as air is pumped out and the doors cycle. We're on a maintenance catwalk outside the ship by the airlock. We can see the damaged hull to the north of us. A welding torch is nearby. That'll come in handy. We're on the catwalk, outside the cargo hold where the alien ship crashed through, destroying the integrity of our hull. The catwalk to the north was also destroyed, and we see pieces of it floating far from the ship. So essentially what's happened is that your ship has gotten into an accident, and it's put it out of its sort of designated flight plan. So we can apply the repair patch that we picked up to patch up the hole. That fixes that little problem. That's all we needed to do on our spacewalk, so we'll come back in. All of our junk is still on the ground there. And that's all you needed to do. That's the only use you get out of the spacesuit. Have we left anything behind? Sneakers. I'll put our shoes back on. Alright, and we'll continue on our way. The droid says, up, up and away. He's been watching too many 50s sci-fi movies. The droid says, pretty stripes. The walls are welded metal that is warm to the touch, while the floor is a soft, spongy material. A very strange spacecraft that we're on. We're standing in a north-south passage that has a tall, unclimbable metal wall to the west. It's not particularly unclimbable though, because we can use our ladder that we still have with us, and that makes the unclimbable climbable. We're in the east end of a huge, square, low-ceilinged room. The walls of the room are white and lined with dials, switches, controls, and view screens. The droid says, "Pretty dials." Very easily impressed, this droid. Now, a set of 3 flat panel view screens are mounted over the light. The view screens show a berserk cleaning robot, rows of sleepers in capsules, and a repair patch on the hull breach. So the ship that we're on is carrying a cargo of sleepers, which are presumably the crew or the passengers in some sort of cryogenic sleep. If we're following our science fiction tropes closely enough. Now we'll come back to all this later. We're in a small room whose walls are bathed in red light. The room is bare, but for a single eerily lit table. On the middle of the table is a trip balance, a set of scales with a dish on each side of a needle fulcrum. There is a power crystal here. Now this is a little puzzle that puts me in mind of that scene from Indiana Jones where he has to try and equalize the weight of the gold with the sandbag. What we need to do before we take the crystal, otherwise we'll get zapped, is we need to drop that empty cube that we've been lugging around, and now we can get the crystal without coming to harm. Now we don't need this crystal till much later, so we'll drop it here where we can remember where we've left it. So, we're in a small red cabin that's in a tremendous state of disarray. The doorway to the south leads out into a hallway. Before us, sitting on a table, is what looks like an ultrafish reader with 2 slots in it. The droid says bedtime story. So finally we get to have a look at what information is contained on this ultrafish as well. Cyborg log, stardate 098-22. Location, orbiting Orianta, star sector Tau Ceti. While in a stable orbit around the planet Orianta, our life ship was struck by an alien vessel. As captain of this ship, my responsibility was clear. Moments before impact, I managed to make secure the valuable cargo of this Earth-based ship, the people it carries, in their suspended animation capsules. The sleepers should be safe until I manage to repair and land the ship. I am making this log entry and plan to carry it with me to the wreck level, where I hope to ride out the collision in safety. End of log entry. So we're getting our main sort of bit of exposition there, letting us know exactly what is going on. So yes, there's been a catastrophe that has been a bit of a blip in the mission, and Captain doesn't seem to be about, so it looks like it's up to us to fix the problem. Put our idea back on. Okay, we're starting to run low on energy, so we'll need to find something to power us back up pretty soon. But we'll be alright for the meanwhile. As you move around, your cyborg level and your bio level just tick down, and when they get to a critical point, which I think is 500, then you get a game over. So you've got to keep on finding food and batteries and whatnot. So we've got a little ways that we can keep on going at the moment. So we've entered the laboratory. Workbenches and equipment are scattered around in disarray. Many of the glass pieces shattered or broken. There is an empty beaker here. We've entered a small storage room off the laboratory. The shelves are empty and broken bottles and chemicals litter the floor, as if an explosion occurred nearby. A ruptured pipe on the wall is leaking liquid oxygen that boils in a small puddle. The droid says, kaboom. A little bit of foreshadowing there and a little bit of a hint. So thank you, droid. We can fill our beaker up with the oxygen. This room was at one time filled with hydroponic tanks, and the tanks were filled with food. Now the tanks are all smashed, they're just glass and metal fragments. The droid says, food, food. There is a juicy peach here. So, despite all the tanks being smashed, there's still some food laying about, which we'll make use of. We're in the east end of the ruined hydroponics room. A quick scan reveals that none of the tanks are operational. There is a small rent in the east wall that is exposing several wire harnesses and loose cables. There's a bunch of wire here. Now, it might seem like we're picking up some fairly useless junk, but there's a definite use for all of this as we go along. So we've made our way to a dormitory. The place is in a horrible mess. Though the dormitory is large, it is a warm and cheery place with walls and ceiling warm blue. A doorway leads out to the east, and a power battery is nearby. So that's what we need to replenish our power. Brings us back up to over 1,000, which should be more than enough. It reminds you that you must find a permanent one. And once you get that, you just have unlimited cyborg energy, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't believe it's necessary to complete the game, but it sure makes it a lot easier to do. The droid says, to sleep, perchance to dream, waxing very poetic. Okay, got a bit lost there for a second, but here we are. A cleaning robot. A servo unit gone mad wheels up to us and mistakes us for a large trash heap. It smashes into our shins and starts trying to dismantle us piece by piece. This is the one that we saw on the view screen earlier. And he's done a bit of damage to us. We're now up to 12% damage. The droid says, bad bot. A berserk robot is lurking nearby. We'll blast him like we did the snake earlier on. And I believe 150 power is enough. The robot emits a sizzle or two and then stops. If we break open the robot, something falls out. There is a disabled robot here. There is a robot power casing here. And that's the permanent power cell that we're looking for. So once we get that and attach it to our cybernetic body, Cyborg level 2000, and that doesn't go down. So we're all set. We don't need the casing anymore, but we will pick up the tools that were on the ground there. We're now in the north end of what must be the engineering section of the ship. To the north is a doorway. The walls are mostly pipes and tubes. A small iguana-like creature sits here, playing with something. It appears to be bored. The droid says, "Busy fingers play." There is a sleeper's manual here. This is supposedly one of the trickier puzzles in the game. You've got to figure out what to give to the iguana so that he'll let you take away the manual, something to entertain him. And the solution is a bit arbitrary, but here's what you got to do. So we take off the sneakers that we've been wearing and unlace the string that we were using as shoelace. So now we've got our string back. We don't need the sneakers anymore, and we can drop the string. Iguanas love playing Iguana's Cradle, and it gladly trades. So yeah, it's a bit out of the blue, but whatever works, I guess. So now we have the sleeper's manual. Okay, so at this point we've got to leave behind some of our items, so we'll have room to pick up some other gear. Before us are a series of tables and chairs that had to have been scattered about by an explosion. Beds and personal belongings, all ruined, are scattered amongst the debris. A few scraps of half-eaten mouldy bread lie about rotting. The droid says, "Ugh." We're going to get the bread, but we're not going to eat it, because even if you're a cyborg, mouldy bread is bad news. Before us are beds, wrenched from their floor mountings. Beneath one of them, barely visible, is a storage locker that appears to be intact. The entire area looks like it could use the services of a cleaning servo unit, and badly. The droid says, "Unlocker locker." Well, we better listen to him. We're going to open the locker. Something fell out. A loop of solder. So we need to swap around our inventory again. Okay, we've come to another authorized personnel only area, so luckily we still have our staff ID with us that will allow us to get through that roadblock. We are by rubble and debris in the hold. To the east we can see the little ship. So it's funny, following the guide doesn't really give you an explanation on how you would figure any of this out, but all the information we're given here is we're by rubble and debris in the hold, and little do we know that there's some way that we have to be able to get past that. And now the solution to that is that we've got some liquid oxygen with us, which we can dump out. We light a match from our box of matches. and we drop the match. Kaboom! We blew a large hole in the rubble to the east. Scanning detects the ship. So this is another one that, you could spend 100 years on this game and never figure that out. Real Hugo 3 sort of material. But anyway, we'll carry on. I don't know, maybe everyone was smarter back then. So we don't need the beaker and the matches past this point. I can ditch those. Free up some spots. We're clear of the rubble, standing in the east end of the cargo hold. A piece of the hull is a different shade of grey, where the repair patch was applied. To the east, directly before us, is a small ship, the ship the lizards came in. So it looks like the little lizards, the first thing we saw in this game essentially, they've been popping up everywhere. Those are the aliens that have crashed into us. For a species that can pilot an interstellar craft, they seem fairly primitive in their communication. Prone to being distracted by pieces of string and whatnot. We're inside the tiny spaceship, hunched over and very cramped. A little reptile says, "Hi, I'm lonely, and wouldn't mind if you asked me a few questions to while away some time." A small door leads out to the west. The droid says, "Lizzie." There is a small CPU here, which we will try and get. Okay, and I think you might be able to give this guy the bread. Some reptile in a spacesuit zipped by and grabbed the bread. But he doesn't want to give us any answers, so we'll leave him be and we'll get back to our mission. We're in the yellow north-south corridor. A little metal grill is mounted in the wall. The droid says, "Barbecue." Righto. We can smash our way through this grill now that we're at full power from the power cell. The grill has been destroyed. A smarter, a rat with razor-sharp teeth, leaps from a duct behind the grill and slices a small patch of skin from our leg. The smarter's glowing red eyes show only hunger and true desperation. Well, too bad for the smarter that we've still got our laser beam, and he goes down without too much of a fight. It is wounded and decides to run off to die in seclusion. We're in the West L in the sick bay. A tall and narrow glass cylinder stands before us. The room bends around to the east, where examination tables and ruined medical equipment are scattered about. The panel on the cylinder is latched and closed. Now this isn't something that you have to do to beat the game. This is just to show you a few of the extra features that are packed in here. So we're going to climb into this glass cylinder. Close ourselves in and pull the lever. We are bathed in soothing radiation. That radiation, very therapeutic. But what that's done is it has reduced a pile of the damage we've taken, essentially healing us up there. So we'll be in full health for the culmination of the game. Okay, so we'll climb back out. grab the crystal that we left behind a little while ago. And the droid says, "Wake up, little Susie." I'm guessing that's a song lyric of some sort. So where we are, we're back at the control center. There's all the dials and view screens. The left position above the dial says sleep, while the right position says wake. To the west is a view hall which shows unfamiliar constellations. Okay, now if you try and turn the dial at the moment, it's not going to work, and so we need to fix it up, which is what all of the components that we've been gathering at the moment allow you to do. So we lay all those down. And since we have the tools and we have the sleeper's manual as well, this allows us to repair the dial. Dial fully operational and repaired. Before us is a large circular dial. Oh yeah, that's just repeating itself there. And since it's repaired, we now need to turn the dial. Okay, we're by the bridge's central controls. The view screens show a defunct cleaning robot, so we've stopped the berserk robot. A repair patch in the hull breach, so we've stopped the hull from exploding. And revived sleepers in a big room, so we've brought everyone back to life. All we need to do now is throw the switch, which allows us to go into landing sequence. And that's mission accomplished. Cyborg. As a Cyborg 22-D series, you have done what was required of you. Transported our human pioneers to the star system of Tau Ceti and its world of Orianta. As reward, you will be retired with full pension and honours. Be happy with the knowledge that through your efforts, the human race can survive on this alien world, and should some catastrophe befall the Earth, the human race will continue. As further reward, NASA 2 is giving you this ship. You may transport yourself back to Earth, or explore the far reaches of our galaxy with it. The choice is yours. Our congratulations, along with the entire human race's thanks. Bye! Okay, so there you have it. Mission of the Cyborg was to bring everyone out of suspended animation and make sure they got to their destination safely so they can start a colony on some alien world in case of the sun going supernova or something like that. Something along those lines. But anyway, I thought that was a particularly standout sort of setting and presentation for a game of this type, and especially at this age. It's without the use of a guide, this would have given you potentially unlimited hours of gameplay, depending on how stuck you got. But I quite enjoyed the bit of exploring I did and the map making, and I enjoyed the scenery along the way. So I hope you'll join me for a few more Abandonware titles in the future. We'll do a few more simpler ones, action-based ones, in between the text adventures, which can get a bit ponderous, but I've got a few more of those lined up as well. So stick around, and I'll see you later.